Tariffs on aluminum and steel for key U.S. allies. The European Union, Canada, and Mexico will now have 30 days to finalize trade negotiations with the U.S. The tariffs were initially set to take effect today. Megan Casella is a trade reporter for Politico and joins us now. So, Megan, we heard in the White House briefing today, Sarah Huckabee Sanders said that the administration delayed the tariffs for those key allies because it felt they were making progress on a trade deal. What's likely to be hammered out in these negotiations?
I think we're still not sure yet exactly what the decision is going to be. With Canada and Mexico, they got the postponement or the delay because they're working on the NAFTA negotiations with the United States. Those need at least a couple more weeks to figure out what's going to happen there. And with the European Union, which also got a delay, the U.S. it's even more unclear with the European Union what exactly they're working towards. The administration is saying that they want a quota. They want these countries to cap the amount of steel and aluminum that they're sending to the U.S., but it's unclear what they'll be able to settle on exactly.
So is there a sense of exactly what would satisfy both the U.S. and also their allies?
Not really. That's the hard part, is that the U.S., Peter Navarro actually came to an event earlier today and was emphasizing again, there is going to be a quota, there are going to be restrictions even if there's not a tariff. But the EU, Canada, and Mexico in particular, have emphasized over and over, we're not going to agree to a quota, we're not going to agree to any restrictions. They're saying, we're such close allies, we shouldn't have to face these tariffs or any other type of restriction. So, we have only 30 days left. The administration emphasized they're not going to extend the deadline again. So we don't know yet what exactly they're going to be able to agree to by then.
Who else did the Trump administration reach preliminary deals with?
They reached preliminary deals with Argentina, Australia, and Brazil. They haven't released the details yet. So I think that was just a way of saying we've made even more progress with these three countries. And they have, they didn't set a specific deadline on those, but said they would release the details shortly. Trump also reserved the right and said, if we don't settle this shortly, then, I will reconsider imposing the tariffs on these three countries. And then South Korea has also already reached an even more closer to final deal with the U.S. that they agreed to cap their exports at 70% of what they've been sending. So they're not going to surpass that threshold.
So President Trump has also said that he sent a delegation to China to work on what he calls a massive trade deficit. What are the major issues between these two countries on trade?
There's a number of issues going on between the U.S. and China. Beijing has really been one of Trump's main targets when he talks about trade all over the place. The biggest thing for President Trump is the trade deficit, that he says, we need to have a smaller deficit. He wants China to commit to narrowing that by $100 billion. And China says that when the U.S. officials come over this week, they're not even agreeing to talk about that. So that's going to be a big one, and it's unclear if they'll make any progress there. Another thing the U.S. is really concerned about is China's intellectual property practices, the way they handle valuable data and technology. And they're trying to work on that too. The Trump administration is threatening tariffs and other restrictions in order to get China to change its practices there. So those are probably the two biggest issues they're going to try to address over the next couple of days.
So the president's renegotiating all these trade deals. What are really his main priorities, Megan?
A big one is the trade deficit, not only with China, but with the entire world. The U.S. does run a trade deficit in goods overall. Most economists say that's not really a good way of judging, how healthy our trading relationships are, that they're not necessarily bad for the economy, but that's something that President Trump is really concerned about. And he says that he wants to bring jobs back to the United States. He wants to revive the Rust Belt and the manufacturing sectors in the United States, and says that a way that we're going to do that is invest more in America and buy American and that sort of thing, and that'll bring more jobs back and stop companies from sending them overseas.
Megan Casella from Politico, thank you for joining us, Megan.
Thanks for having me.